Okay, Tony Mormino here with HVAC TV for our first live podcast of 2025. And I got a guest today, Paul Hedgepath. Paul, how are you today?
Good, good.
Good. I
Glad to
kind of
be
wrote
here.
Paul into, thank you for joining us. I kind of wrote Paul into doing a live show. We were just going to record this. We're like, we should go live, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we're
No
glad to be
pressure.
live on the pressure, right? The pressure. But, if you're watching this, it's Friday when we're recording it. You're fed up with work. You just want to chill out. Just watch. Just relax. Keep it on in the background. Relax. Make a comment. We're going to talk about. Paul is an expert in the emerging technologies in building construction, which I know very little about. I do know a lot about AI, so I don't know if we're going to talk a little bit about that or not. But I can't wait to get into this. I've historically been on the easy part of the construction business, which is the sales rep kind of thing. We get the equipment. We submit on it. If everything goes well, we ship it. It gets started. If there's no problems, we never see it again, and we're done, and we're on to the next job. That's not how it works in general contracting, is it?
No. It's interesting to kind of hear about your perspective on it and your part of the job. And once it gets to us, just really the things we have to deal with in terms of coordination and collaborating with the entire team. So, I mean, over the past, I guess, 20 years or so, that's what I've been doing with, now 3 different G. It's proven to really be more commonplace than I thought it was going to be, back when we really started doing this in 2005. So it's been interesting to see technology evolve really since that time, and all the extra things that I'm doing now that I never thought I'd be doing, back then. So it's been good.
Yeah, so that's great. So walk me through a general process of construction, right? You do a lot of plan and spec work, or is it mostly design build, or what's your type of work you do most of?
We're primarily cement risk. So this is going to be, we have negotiated jobs, we did build, but we're typically getting involved in it around, close to 100% CD, sometimes design development. And so it's really, by the time we're starting to get involved, the design's pretty well done. And usually when we get awarded the project, there's little time before we start construction. So you may have a month, right? Or less. And so as soon as we're getting awarded that job, we get that letter of intent and we're getting our trades on board, we start that process of building information modeling, 3D coordination, to where we can get all of the data on the model and coordinated. So when you're out there and hanging that duct and hanging that plumbing pipe, you're not going to run into issues that you would normally run into, where our superintendent in the field would have to solve it, also the field foremans and other people. So we're really taking the design documents, and sometimes those design documents are in 3D, but and also in the 2D PDF contract docs. And we're partnering with our trades, and we're generating new 3D models of all the duct and the plumbing, to where we can figure out the routing on the computer, and then we make sure that routing works out. And then once we get that approved, we submit 2D coordination shop drawings that are at the fabrication level to the architect, and get those approved, and we go and install it. So I would say when I started I started at Holder Construction, went on to J.E. Dunn, and now I'm at M.J. Harris. But starting at Holder, this was really not commonplace, and we were really just trying to figure it out back then. And now I think I'm up to about 106 jobs now, as far as being involved in the coordination process. And every single one of those, I've never gone back and said, hey, this is, in our field teams also have never gone back and said, hey, we didn't need to do this. It's always been a benefit, and it's saved, not only does it save time from a general contractor standpoint, but we're saving time on on our trades as well, so it's been pretty
So
good.
the new part of that scenario is the virtual part, or the
Yeah.
3D part of it. Is that am I picking up on that right? So what was it like 20 years ago?
So you would
They were
either,
just out on the job site. They were fighting each other. They were like hammers and
pretty much.
wrenches, and my pipe's going here. I don't care about your duct, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that still happens sometimes, when people may install not entirely like the model, but that was
Hmm.
always happening back then. So you're getting into and it still happens on some jobs that don't do BIM. We're 100% BIM on all of our jobs, but it's still out
Hmm.
there where you don't have the 3D coordination.
So BIM,
But
for those who don't know, like I didn't know an hour
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
is building information modeling? Is that,
That
did I
that's
remember that
right.
right?
Yep.
Which is
And
is that the name for the software or the end product of it? Or just the
th
process?
that's more like the process.
Okay.
You'll also hear the term, virtual design and construction.
Mhm.
And you can use those interchangeably. Some people have other thoughts about when you use those words, but in general, BIM was kind of the term that everyone started with, and it kind of evolved into virtual design and construction because it encompassed more than just 3D.
Mhm.
And it's a little bit better term, but you'll hear both those interchangeably. Um, I think uh, in terms of 3D and prior to that, yeah, you're just people were just doing 2D shop drawings, maybe in AutoCAD, which is a 2D software,
Mhm.
with no three-dimensional representation, but also sometimes no shop drawings, right? No coordination drawings, and they're trying to install off the contract docs. Um, so yeah, and then you also have a term. They had a light table. A lot of people you'll hear older superintendents say this to use the light table to where you had a table with a light underneath it, and you'd set plans on top of it, and then you'd overlay the different trades. So if you had like a duct trade or a plumbing trade, and you'd overlay the two on a floor plan and say, oh, well, I think these two trades are going to be hitting each other. Maybe you can do some calculations with top of
Mhm.
duct and bottom of pipe and try to figure it out. But it's not really until you get actual 3D representation that you can say, oh, it's obvious. Because the software that we use allows you, it'll find that clash for you. This is what the term we use, clash, when two things are hitting, they shouldn't be,
Mhm.
and it'll highlight the thing red or orange, depending. Really easy to see all these things. So you can imagine, I mean, we're doing a job at University of Alabama right now. It's a $140 million job, and my clash report on that has 1,000 clashes. You can imagine that there's no way
So
that you'd be able
that's
to.
before, so the clash is determined before the guys get on site?
Yeah, yeah, before it's even installed.
Right.
And that's the whole benefit, right? Is we're figuring this stuff out before it becomes a real problem,
Mhm.
right? A real issue to where if you have a duct in a corridor and then the plumbing pipe is supposed to be there and it can't go anywhere else, maybe it's gravity fed rain leader or something, um, but the duct's already there. Well, now the crews have to come out and take that duct down,
Mhm.
and then the guys that are installing the rain leaders have to wait for them to take it down, then install their stuff. Now maybe you have an issue with fabrication to where the duct was fabbed a certain way with connections there
Mhm.
where it would only go there. So now they maybe has to go back to fab. And so you got a whole lot of delays and
Mm.
schedule things that
And that's like a ripple
we're
effect,
avoiding.
right?
Yeah, ripple
That's
effect.
like a
Right,
ripple
you're right.
effect. The duct comes down, and it affects the electrical guy, it affects the sprinkler guy, the controls wiring guy, the electrician.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't care about we don't care about the electricians, but
yeah.
that's just a
Make
little,
them run
that's just a
wherever,
little
right?
wire, right? How hard is
And the
that?
fire protection guys, right? I mean, that's not
I'm
the
sure I'll
trade
get
keeping
some
you alive,
comments here
right?
on that. That's right. That's right. So you get a job, you go to the individual trades, the mechanical contractor, electrical, yada, 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 plumbing guy, and they send you drawings, and then you're taking those, and are you rebuilding them in a program, or are they building it in the same program and you're importing it, or how does that technically work?
So originally, my first BIM job was Aquarium Hilton Garden Inn in Atlanta, like in
Mhm.
2005 or so. And so back in those days, the trades really weren't modeling either. So I
Mhm.
would go and sit in the duck guy's office, right? And he'd be drawing in two-dimensional AutoCAD, and I was sitting next to him drawing in 3D and basically going back and forth. So the
Mhm.
general contractor was playing the role of the 3D converter based off 2D plans. Now,
Okay.
yeah, now fast forward as 20 years later, most of the trade contractors are have their own in-house 3D people, and so we're getting 3D models from the trade contractor, and then
Nice.
the general contractor is playing the role of the combiner, the person that brings and making sure that nothing hits and clashes, right? Because each trade is its
Right.
own individual
Right.
company, right? I mean, sometimes you have the
Right.
plumbing, the
Right.
duct guy is one company, but for the most part, we're still serving the purpose as a general contractor. We're just
Mhm.
now doing design collaboration and facilitating that. So
So what happens when you work with sub who doesn't have that capabilities. Do you ever have that scenario present itself?
Yes, since we work all over the country, we're dealing with new trade partners almost on
Mhm.
every job. Um, 'Cause we're not just based regionally where we would only be dealing with our Birmingham duct guy or our Birmingham, Alabama plumber. So when we come across the guys that don't have it, we can provide them outsourced contacts, people that I've worked with for 18 years that I trust, that I know that they can do this work, and then we'll facilitate that through them, and then act as the representative, the BIM representative for that trade contractor.
Mhm.
In the end, I still have. We're having these weekly meetings where we go through and review all these clashes as a team. Usually, these are Zoom online based. And so, when we have these weekly meetings and they don't have their own internal BIM representative, we are requiring that their project manager or someone that can make decisions about routing is on these calls. Because
Right, right. Because
yeah,
you don't want the "I'll get back to you in a week" kinda thing. We gotta, like,
yeah.
you're trying to get this building done, right? Yeah.
And even though we're facilitating this 3D for them, we don't want to make all the decisions for them, right? Because this, in the end,
Mhm.
this is their product. They're the ones that's going to have to install it, and the last thing we want to do is provide something to them that they don't want to install. So then BIM and the coordination, the 4 to 6 months of coordination that we do, would go out the window, and these guys would just run it wherever they want.
Mm.
So we want it to be a team effort when we're
Yeah.
doing it. So
And I guess the purpose of all that is ultimately it saves time and money because it sounds like a lot of upfront time,
oh
but
yeah.
it reminds me of, wasn't around when Abraham Lincoln was around, but this quote of his always stuck in my mind, which is, I was around when the World Wide Web wasn't around or any of this software wasn't around. That's for sure. I'm sure you were too. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
the
I
the
had a
quote is
gateway
something like, "If I had a."
and dial-up AOL. That was '94 when I got.
Oh my gosh. I asked my son, "Do you
You
know what
probably.
WWW stands for?" He said, "No," and I said, "It stands for World Wide Web." He goes, "What's that? What's the web?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they don't know what it's like to, wait on the dial-up, so.
Oh my gosh." I remember in college, I had 2 roommates, and to dial up, you had to get into the college server or dial up thing, so you had to just keep hitting it until you got in there, and then if you get in there after 40 minutes, you know, no one else could use the phone. So someone would be like, "Hey, I need to use the phone." I'm like, "Oh man, I just got in here." It's like, "I don't care. I got a bubble bud." I'm like, "Oh, it wasn't really." I don't remember what we even did with that, but oh man, it was like a different time. But
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know where I was going with all that, other
I
than
think you had a quote, a
Abraham
Lincoln
Lincoln.
quote?
The
Yeah.
Lincoln quote was something like, "If I had an hour to chop down a tree, I'd spend 50 minutes sharpening the axe," or something like that. So that's what kind of
Yeah,
this reminds me of. And I know
that's a good quote.
for me too, when I'm creating content, I'm like, sometimes I could just sit here and spit it out and it comes out okay. But if I really sit down and plan it, when I'm going to a job site, taking the video and the B-roll, I'm trying to get better at that. But when I sit down and plan it, then the editing is just like super smooth. But when I don't, it's
Yeah,
all like, I'm like, where's this shot? I can't remember what I did over here. So anyway, so that's just kind of reminds me of that. But
yeah,
um, yeah.
yeah, I like that.
So
Um,
how is AI playing a role in your part of the business, if at all? I know for me, I'm primarily in technical training, which is creating a lot of content. We do a lot of online content, and like I use AI 3 or 4 times a day in terms of like GPT chat. So I'll take this podcast when we're done, I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll wait 20 minutes. YouTube will spit out a transcript. I'll take that transcript, copy and paste it into Chat GPT, and say, create a detailed YouTube video title and description of this podcast based on the transcript. And what I love about that is you're not faking. You're giving it the data. It's just kind of rearranging it. Like it'll
oh
say,
yeah.
Tony Mormino. So I love the AI tools from that respect because for the other reason is I'm terrible at writing and spelling. It's just like to sit down and write a YouTube description. I don't think I'd ever publish a YouTube video again. It takes so long. But
Yeah.
anyway, what is that? Are you seeing any of that in your field, and what is it looking like?
Oh, absolutely. I think if anything is going to impact technology in our field more, then it's going to be AI, and not just in construction. And of course, and I think you feel that way. I'm on the ABC ABC is
Mm-hmm.
Associated Builders and Contractors of America, so it's one of the largest construction organizations in the country. We have, I think they have around 63,000 members, and the one thing I love about the ABC is they include the trades as well. So it's a trade and general contractor organization. But I'm on the National Tech Committee. It's made up of about 15 folks around the country, and we meet regularly. But one of the things is we also meet monthly on AI, and
Mm.
they have a resource. You can Google ABC AI, and they have a whole resource page and a lot of other things. And it's I've sat on several panels around the AI because that's the one thing everybody wants to know about in every industry, but especially in ours. Um, so I think I mean, of course, I use Chat GPT all the time, just like you do, and it does amazing
Mm-hmm.
things you didn't think it would ever be able to do. I had an MRI on my back the other day, and I uploaded the image, and I said, "Tell me about this MRI," and it told me, and it was
Oh my
similar to what my doctor
gosh.
told me, which is crazy. Just
Isn't
the
that
image.
crazy? It's
I was like,
scary
"Wow,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah." But a
Yeah, I
lot
don't
of
think
things in
we've.
terms of. Go ahead.
No, please go.
Go ahead. This live thing, man. I don't think we've, I think what you were saying is we haven't even scratched the surface of what it's going to be able to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in terms of what we do in our company, I would say things like forms and standard forms, procedures, that kind of stuff, it's very good at. So taking things that we've already drafted and refining that, things like, we had like a stair, our safety guy made a thing about stair inspections, and I just took that whole form and dumped it into GPT, and it critiqued it and made revisions,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them were good. Um, just basic
Mm.
things like that. Anytime that I sit on a panel or talk about things, I ask people, if people ask, how can we even get involved in AI to start with? I say, just download it on your phone, Chat GPT, and start using that, um, like you would Google, and you'll just see all the different
Mhm.
things that you can really use in your daily life. Just what you were talking about with the trains, I mean, that would take you an hour to go through your podcast and make something that works, and it's doing that in 5 seconds. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, it would take me longer than that because 'cause I'm terrible at it, but I get your point, what
Yeah,
you're saying, and like today, when I go for my walk, I'm gonna voice to text an article I've been wanting to write for a while, which, talks
yeah,
about, like, B2B business and social media trends, why most B2B companies stink on social media, and here's how to fix that, this kinda thing, which is kinda my passion, but I'll take that transcript and I'll put it in chat and I'll say, hey, clean this up for me. Give me some ideas on a title and then move it around. Sometimes it'll come back like way too flowingly marketing-y. It's totally not my
yeah,
voice. And it knows my voice now because I've done so many chats. I'm like, hey, can you rewrite this in my voice as I would
yeah,
say it? Because I'm going to say something that you can read it and you're like, well, I don't talk like that at all. So you got to, I caution people if they're using it, don't get on there and say, write me an article about AI and building construction and just spit some random thing out and you post it. It's not going to do you much good. You know,
yeah,
you got to kind of have some truth behind it, your experience. You got to share your deal, but it could take what you do and it could rearrange it in a way that makes it flow a little better, as you
yeah,
would think about it like hiring a writer. If you were to sit down with a writer and give him a rough draft, and he would make suggestions. And
yeah.
anyway,
And it
that's
remembers
how it's been
everything you
helpful.
ever asked it, right? And it uses that
Yeah,
as context back when it's making new stuff. So,
it's
um,
really cool.
yeah.
When is it going to get to the point where you can take it all and load it in there and it says, give me all the clashes and write a report on it? Or can it do that today?
Um, so there's software that's continually being developed that's making that process easier.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a point to where it allows us to maybe make better design decisions early on,
Mm-hmm.
to where on the back end those clashes may not be as much, because the design team, they don't really have enough time to do everything they need to do up front
Mm-hmm.
to make it clash free. But as they're drawing, you might be able to see AI may be able to give us more proactive, predictive clashes, I think, um, where it
Right.
said, hey, if you design it this way, you may end up with this kind of stuff or this. So more of a predictive analytics based off AI is where I see some of the stuff. Just in the design world in general, it's already starting to uh, be text-based prompts for design. So one of the
Mm,
softwares out there that we use, that designers use predominantly is Revit. So you'll have the
yep.
engineers and everyone using this 3D software. But now there's add-ons and other ways to where Revit can be text-based. So you could type a prompt saying, "Draw me a duct this size, and it needs to be, or columns this many spacing," and it'll model that based off that text prompt, rather than you
Wow.
physically going in there and drawing it. So AI is starting to enter the design world, and it'll just keep going. Um, and it's already in our world a little bit. Procore is
Hmm.
one of the largest construction management softwares out there, and that's what we use. And they've recently released some Copilot, which is a chat-based prompt to where we can type in how many RFIs do I have out, or does this type of equipment have a filter or not, and it'll tell us based on referencing the specs and the drawings and everything instantly. And then it also tells us based on input that we've put in there, based on RFIs we've submitted and other
Hmm.
stuff. And then Procore is going to release agents within a year, which will be a specialized RFI agent, submittal agent, which will be more of an AI expert just on that specialized tool, which will be even more in depth. So, um,
Incredible.
yeah, a lot of stuff coming out that's going to help our jobs, not replace us, but just enhance us through AI. So it'll be good.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit because a lot of folks are worried about AI taking over. And I heard another quote which I really like. Nothing's original for me. Everything I just kind of regurgitate. But maybe I have something original out there. I don't know. I'll have to ask
Yeah.
my GPT chat assistant. But it's something like AI won't take your job, but someone using AI probably will at
Oh
some
yeah,
point. And
I've
I
heard
think
that
that's
one.
a real strong deal because, just to put it in terms of the way I use it today, in terms of copywriting and stuff like that, if you're a copywriter and you start using that, I would think it would just up your game tremendously. It would be a very powerful tool, just like when power tools came out, and
Yeah.
the craftsmen were using, you know, they didn't want to get rid of their hammer and the guy came with a nail gun. Well, you're out of a job. It's just not, it's not possible to keep up. And I think AI is kind of like that, but it'll never, I don't want to say never, but it's going to be a long time before it physically replaces, like, hey, create this piece of content or design this school, and you talk into the machine and it just starts designing it while you're, well, I don't know,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
maybe that will come pretty soon.
I don't
Now
know.
that I think about it, I'm like, that might be an idea. Maybe I'll see something at the AHR show that'll be along those lines. So I'm sure there'll be a
Yeah.
lot of AI stuff there
Yeah.
at the show in a couple weeks. So, um, are you going to the show?
Which show is that now?
AHR Expo in Orlando.
Oh no, no, I didn't. No, you going to be headed there?
Yeah, that's more of a air conditioning, you know, deal for our trade, but, that's our big
Gotcha.
show of the year. That's our big World's Fair
Awesome.
every year, so it's in Orlando this year, so in a couple weeks we'll be there. It's like, for me, it's like heaven as a content creator because
Yeah.
everybody's right there, and I have, Heather Robinson and Courtney Sanders, if you're watching, big shout out to them, and Doug Sanders will be there too, Mark Murray, and we'll all, Mark won't be held the camera. He's the president of the company, right? He's more of the organizer. He's not going to be holding no
You're not
camera.
gonna be the
But
cameraman?
no, no. But I get to interview people, which is to me is a lot of fun, and that's a blessing. And I love that I have this job where we get to give back, and we get to have people like you on the show who bring here and
Yeah.
bring value. And you want to tell people how to find you. I think you're pretty popular on LinkedIn. How'd you get so many followers on LinkedIn?
I guess just over years, just using the platform and
Hmm.
connecting with people. So,
Are
I could
you on
always
it often? Are you posting often, or?
Yeah, yeah, probably not as much as you, but yeah, I like to get on there, and it's a good place to learn from other people too. So I think in our
Hmm.
industry, especially construction technology, we're on there a lot and sharing ideas, and I mean, outside of just BIM, there's so many other things that we do,
Hmm.
and it's always a newer and better way of doing things, and we kind of feed off each other and saying, "Hey, I tried this, or I didn't, this worked out better." And heck, with AI, I mean, there's something new every day on there in our industry. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, um, I think just we talked about BIM and AI, but there's a lot of other things that we do. That I never thought that I would do 20 years ago. Drones is another big thing for us now, and
I saw that
360.
on your LinkedIn.
Yeah. Yeah, 360 photos and laser scanning,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of hardware-based things now that I never thought that we would do, but it's proven to be helpful as far as just the fact that we're able to capture either existing conditions or new
Mm-hmm.
construction that we're doing. Since we're really I guess a visual industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Capturing what's out there and being able to communicate that easily to other people has been a pretty big deal for us.
What are you doing with the drones
So for our
other than
drones,
pretty videos?
yeah,
You're
we got a
using
lot
it
of
for
pretty
actual
videos.
work.
Yeah. And hey, that's pretty important too because our owners like to see the progress of the job, and the
Yeah, yeah.
videos seem to be a good way to communicate that.
Mm-hmm.
But drones, in general, we have remote pilots on our job site, so we probably have 13 or 14 remote pilots. These are our field engineers that are out there doing
Wow.
inspections for us and doing stuff.
13 to 14.
Yeah, they take a drone test and study for it, and it's pretty involved, but it's good that they've all got that capability.
Mm.
So we're doing the flights and making the videos for our owners and our teams that aren't on the job sites. But in addition to that, some other capabilities, it can produce photogrammetry models, is a term they use, to
Hmm.
where you're able to it uses GPS locations and it knows where it is in space, and it takes all the photos and it stitches together and makes a 3D model just based on photos. So so you can do this with a drone and get a 3D representation of your construction job site at any point, and you can rotate around and view different views of it that you wouldn't be able to see in a video.
Mhm.
It can also quantify different things like dirt. If you need to do cut fill analysis, it can tell you the quantity of dirt, and there's lots of other things it can do. But that's kind of
That's
surface
incredible.
level of of the things that I never thought about being able to do in 2005 that it's able to do now. So
How would you do all that beforehand? Just get a
pay a guy
crane?
in the airplane, yeah, pay a
Really?
guy
That's how you would do
400 bucks,
it?
yeah, back then
Wow.
$400, and you do a flyover and take some pictures and say, "Here's your aerial view of your job," and then you send out a monthly report with that showing
Gosh,
that.
that's so cool. We just
Yeah,
got a drone, um, and I played around with it in the yard, but I haven't done a test or got certified yet. I need to, but we got a little bit of room, so I was pretty comfortable using it on our property, but I probably need to, get certified or whatever.
yeah. I
So,
mean, if you're just doing it as a hobby, you don't have to. But anytime somebody pays you or you're working
oh,
for a
I
company,
gotcha.
then it falls under Part 107 of the FAA, to where you got to go and watch 20 hours of videos for training, and then you got to go to this place and take a test, and they test you on like airspace and all these other things, and then
Mhm.
you're official, and then you can fly. So,
You're bona fide.
yep,
That's good. Yeah,
yep,
I gotta get that rolling because we do a lot of factory tours, and I would if the factory would let me and I have the clearance and the right certification, I'd love to do a, fly through on the factory. I think that would look really cool because it was surprisingly easy to use once I got it to sync up
yeah.
and everything.
And we've started
I was
using it on the
shocked.
inside too, like showing overhead duct and things and the
Mhm.
progress. You get smaller ones, and because they have the um clearances around all around it, as far as not going up, you're not going to hit something. It'll have radar that detects all that stuff.
Mhm.
It's been pretty helpful. So.
That's so cool. That's so neat. So, MJ Harris Construction Services, anything coming up people need to know about? Any big open houses or plans or training, or we'll save that for the next podcast? I should ask you ahead of time. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here,
Oh
but
yeah. Just anytime you got anything you need built, we build everything and we go everywhere. So just reach out to us, and that's something that we're healthcare construction experts. We're
mhm,
also higher education, tons of work with higher education, K through 12. Um, so yeah, we're a good general chunk contractor to work with, and we're also very technology forward. So like I mentioned, all the things with BIM, 360 photos, and drones,
mhm,
and anything you can imagine that a large multi-billion-dollar company would do, we do as well. And but we're also mid-sized, so um, you're getting the top guys, any kind of job we're
mhm.
working on, and we can do anything. So definitely
And what
reach out to
states?
me or oh, what states? All states. So let us know.
All
Yeah,
states.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
got
So
it.
we worked all over the country. We're based here in the southeast, but again, we have office in Nashville and Arizona. But
Mhm,
we've done jobs We've done 8 jobs in California, Oshpod healthcare jobs. We've done stuff in Alaska, anywhere. So
Awesome.
definitely reach out. Be glad to help. And if anyone in general
Excellent.
has any questions about technology, construction technology, or anything, we're definitely in our industry. We're willing to share that information. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find me on there, and definitely be glad to share any information. That's something. Technology is not necessarily going to make or break us whether we're going to get a job or not. It's something that's just going to help all of us be better
Hmm.
builders and be safer on the job sites. And it's something that's we're always willing to share, and I'd be happy to share that with anybody that
I love it.
has any questions.
Yeah, I love it. So that leads me to the closing here. But our motto here, our mission here, is to educate and empower the HVAC community. That's what HVAC TV is for. So we're glad we have folks like you who are coming on and willing to share that, and help raise our industry up and raise awareness to what's going on today in the industry. So thank you so much, Paul. If you are listening to this on the podcast or watching on the YouTube channel, thank you so much for watching. And if you're watching it live, hey, how was your first live, Paul?
I love
Live
it.
experience.
I like it. No pressure once you get going, so it's good. Don't have to worry
Yeah.
about editing and
Yeah.
waiting
You
on the
know,
final cut and all that other kind of stuff. So this is good.
we didn't say anything extremely embarrassing either. Like no F
Ah.
bombs came out by accident, or no like kids ran around in the background or something like that. I've seen those on YouTube. Somebody's live streaming during COVID and like kid in the diapers runs around. But yeah,
That
it's
just,
a lot
that
of
just makes
fun.
it more original, right? It makes it
Hey,
validate.
the best thing you can do when that happens is just make a joke out of it. It's
Yeah.
the ones that make it all serious and they get all scared. Those are the ones you're like, come on, man, lighten up.
Yeah,
You're at home.
exactly.
Anyway, but thank you for listening. If you're listening here, if you know someone to be interested in the podcast, please share it. We greatly appreciate that. If you want to throw us a rating, even if it's 1 star, I respect that. But if you're finding some value in it, shoot us a good rating. We greatly appreciate that. And yeah, so thanks so much for listening. And Paul, thanks for being on. We hang out with me for a moment. I'm going to kill the feed, but let's hang out and talk for a minute.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Thank you, Paul.